And today's game space is synchronize your calendars. So today we are going to go through kind of the steps that you can take to get your calendar synchronized, because having easy access to your calendar when you need it will allow you to take advantage of the really cool things that come up, or where you can politely say, no, I have an appointment during that time and I cannot come and do that thing. So when we're talking about synchronizing your calendar, the very first thing that you need to do is identify your primary digital calendar. So as you go about your day, when someone asks you if you can do something or if you're planning your week, where do you go to check your calendar? For those of you who are in the digital world already, you may be leaning toward your calendar on your phone more, or you may lean toward your calendar on your laptop or your desktop. This is the first step in determining where your digital calendar is and how you can synchronize it between both your computer and your phone, your smartphone. So that first step is identifying your primary digital calendar. And so let's take a look at some of the options that you will have for that calendar. And I'm going to go to this particular blog post so that we can see this in a more visual manner. So as I scroll down here, we have three main calendar platform options. Um, the first one being the Google Calendar, which many of you are already familiar with. Of course, the Outlook Online Calendar. That Outlook Online Calendar is also associated with the Outlook Calendar on your program. So if you have on your desktop, you have this little Outlook guy here, that's the program that you have on your calendar, and that is slightly different, although related, to the Outlook Online. And so here, I'm going to go ahead and click through these so that we can take a look at these calendars so we know what we're talking about. I'm going to just go ahead and sign in. I've already got it signed in. So here we're looking at, this is the Google Calendar on the computer. And then we're going to go to the Outlook Online Calendar. Now, Outlook Online, one of the things that you have to do is you get into your Outlook and then you go down here to get to the calendar. Often, just because I often need to go back and forth between my digital calendar and my email, I just right click this tab, duplicate my Outlook, and then hit the calendar or hit the email, whichever one I don't have. So I have an email and a calendar up. With Google, it's a little bit easier. All you need to do is go to this 9 square menu, hit email, and then you've got your calendar and your email together. Because as you're planning your day, the whole purpose of having your calendar is to plan your day. Often you'll get things that you determine where in your calendar they fit. So that's a little extra tip from this particular topic. So I'm going to close the emails because we don't really care about them at the moment. But this is the look on the cloud for your calendar. And by cloud, I simply mean using a browser. Going to calendar.google.com will let you see your calendar in the cloud for Gmail. Going to outlook.live.com/calendar in your browser here will get you to the cloud version of the Outlook calendar. So this is how it is on your computer, whether it's your desktop or your laptop. The other element of your calendar on the smartphones in our world today, we have primarily the Android phone versus the iPhone. And both the iPhone calendar and the Android calendar come with a native app for that calendar. And for the iPhone, it looks a little bit like this Tuesday up here. And for the Android, it kind of looks like this little Tuesday here. Now, these apps on your phone that came with your phone are perfectly reasonable. However, they're not quite as robust as the branded app that comes with the brand of calendar you use. So if you're very familiar and you are using a Google Calendar, it's usually best to use the calendar app that came with Google. Same with Outlook. It's usually best to use the calendar app that comes with Outlook. Now, if you are doing just fine with your calendar that came with your phone and it's synchronizing just fine, then leave it that way. It's all good. But we're going to talk about just the different ways of looking at it. And I want to take a look at our other options here. Here we've got a screen of the PC. And many of you who have a PC, you're familiar with this little icon here. This is the Outlook that's on your computer. And chances are very good that this Outlook on your computer is synchronized with the Outlook you have in the cloud. So here we've got an Outlook on the cloud. Now it's going to look a little bit different because I'm looking at two different accounts, and we can go ahead and look at the account that's associated with this particular Outlook account. And that's the next step that we are going to take in this adventure. I was going to tell you about the iPhone and the Android. So this, before we get on to determining which account you're using, let's take a look at, this is actually a view of the iPad because I don't have an iPhone. I'm an Android girl these days. And so I'm looking here at an iPad, which is going to be similar enough to the iPhone for our purposes. This little app right here that says 18, this is the native app that came with your iPhone. And this calendar looks a little bit like this. It's going to look a little different on your iPhone simply because the iPhone and the iPad are formatted slightly different. But near the top here, you can decide if you're on day, week, month, and year. And then you can also look at your calendar and scroll through and see all the different things. You can look at the day, you can look at it in month format. That's the native app on your iPhone. And then we have the Google app and the Outlook app. Over here, we've got an Android phone, and the Android phone, I've got the Pixel. So this is slightly different than if you were to have an HTC or a Galaxy. But I have just the Google app for my calendar, and I can download the Outlook app. The one that we were looking at a moment ago, this little guy here with the green around it, I believe this is really associated with the calendar that comes with a Samsung Android app. So the calendar app that you have on your Android could look a variety of different ways, but that doesn't really matter. I would just download the Google app anyway. So our next step in our synchronizing of our phone, our first step being identify what your primary digital calendar is. Are you using a Google Calendar? Are you using an Outlook calendar? Or are you using an iCloud calendar? iCloud is adequate as far as calendars go, but it does have some limitations as far as synchronizing and attaching it to things and integrations and all those fancy, fancy terms. So I'm going to just talk today about Outlook and Google simply because we got to narrow the scope just a bit. Is to determine the associated email account and sign in. So every digital calendar is associated with an email account. So if you've got a Gmail account, for every Gmail email account you have an associated calendar. Same with every Outlook account. If you have G Suite using your own branded email like nicole@luxcentric.com, that email comes with a calendar. If you have your Office 365 account, say in my case, I've got ProTinker at or support at protinker.com through an Office 365 account, that account comes with a calendar. So thinking about your calendar in terms of which email account do you want it to be associated with. And often you want to choose the one that you would like to receive invitations to. So if you tell someone, hey, invite me to that event, use this email account, then that would be the calendar you would want to associate. So think about which one you use the most. And it really is a personal preference. My personal preference is everything in my world goes through Nicole at Luxcentric.com. That's my business, that's my personal, that's my self as far as my calendar is concerned. So once we have decided which account you're using, we want to um, figure out how to get logged into that particular account. So we've got logging into the Google Calendar online, logging into the Outlook Calendar online. So let's take a look at those. This particular account, when I look at this account, I can easily see which calendar it is by clicking up here, and it tells me this is testing at luxcentric.com. That's the calendar. So when I log into my Gmail account using testing at luxcentric.com and enter my password, this is the calendar I will see. When I go into my phone, so let's go over and look at the Android phone. Let's look at the Android phone right here. This particular calendar that I have, this Google Calendar, it's going to be signed in. Here we go. Whoop, let's see. Oh, we undid that. Ah, we're not going to do the Google one. This connection that I have to my smart devices is a little unstable. So we're going to look at this from the view of the iPad. And hopefully I won't accidentally turn this one off. Here is the Google Calendar, how it looks on the iPad. And it looks very, very similar on the Android. So looking at the calendar, if I tap the three little dots, these three little lines here at the top, it will give me a list of the calendars, the Google calendars that are associated. See, notice I have my own personal calendar, which I can turn off and I can turn it back on. So this calendar will be which one I see on my iPad. Now, I actually want to see a different calendar. Let's see what other, we've got a lot of calendars here under the Nicole calendar. But I'm going to look at a variety of things. If I wanted to add a calendar to this adventure, I would need to do that in a different section here. I would need to do that through um, the accounts. And we're scrolling. You know, when you want to look, you don't see it real quick. There we go. Here we go. This particular calendar is going to be the calendar that goes for the iPad calendar. So that would be this calendar. And then for the Google Calendar, adding a new Google Calendar, that I have to remember where that needs to be done. And manage down here in the Manage Accounts, you'll be able to turn on the various accounts that you have. So here, if I turn on my testing account, or if I needed to add that testing account, I would do that here. So I've just turned it on, and then I'll get out of settings. And now I'm looking at my testing calendar. I look at the three little lines, and I can turn that testing calendar on and off. See, there it's off, there it's on. And so you can have a ton of calendars connected to your single app in your phone or in your iPad on the iPhone. The same is true with the Android, and you'll still have these three little lines up at the top to tell you what account it is that you are connected to. So here I've got my Nicole at Luxcentric, and then I've also got my testing at Luxcentric account, and it is run by the email address. So we're going to go back to Outlook now. If you are in Outlook, we've moved from Outlook to, oops, just disconnected the iPad. If I look in Outlook now to determine which calendar this Outlook account is looking at, that I will need to do through whichever the primary account is on your Outlook program. And to find that, so this, I've got this calendar here, the file, I hit account settings. And this first one here is a good indication that this support at protinker.com is the calendar one, but we're going to confirm it by hitting account settings and notice the one where the little check mark is. This little check mark tells you this is the default one. So this is going to be this first calendar here. So we know it's support@protinker.com. So if we were to log into support@protinker.com, then we would see the same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up that account. So here's my support@protinker.com, and I'm in the website, the cloud-based version of this same account. I hit the little circle up here. It tells me support@protinker.com. I go down to where the calendar is, and these calendars will match. So here we've got those, and then we have those. So this particular one here is the program that comes on the computer, whereas this one is the cloud version for that computer-based program. And then of course I also have the free Outlook calendar program, and I can tell that it is being run by the testing Luxcentric at outlook.com account. And that's what's showing the information here. So once you've got yourself signed into your computer version of your calendar, as well as your app version of your calendar, then you can see both things on your separate devices. My connection to my phones is a little bit tenuous. Here we can sort of see this iPad, but I believe it has disconnected. But I did want to show you the Outlook one. So let's see if that will let me connect back to it, or if it will give us grief. Oh, it's going to give us grief. So this one here is dead, but I think we did see the little icon for Outlook, and Outlook is going to work very similar to the iPhone. I have a link in the instructions here to the Outlook app. And so you can download, if you were to open this blog post on your phone and click the Outlook app, you would get the little Outlook app, and it looks like this little Outlook symbol here. You'll find that in your phone. And when you click on it, it has both your email and your calendar on it, on that app. You've got on the left side, you've got email, on the right side, you have calendar, and they look like this in the app itself. So you have to toggle between the two, but you are signing into the same account. So let's go ahead and minimize this little guy and go on to our next adventure here. So once you have signed into that primary calendar using the branded app, either the Outlook app or the Gmail app, then you can go ahead and test your connection. So testing your connection just simply means, let's go ahead and I'm going to minimize this one. Go to your calendar. We'll do the Gmail one, and just create a nice little test appointment. We're going to say from laptop. And once you save it, then go ahead and look in your phone and see if it's there. In fact, let's get me connected. I want to kind of pause here, and I'm going to actually reconnect my dial in. Take this down here, and I'll get connected, and this shouldn't take too long, because we do want to actually see the Outlook app and see this working. I'm logging in, I'm agreeing to the terms, I'm starting the session, starting a broadcast. And so in just a moment, we should see the iPad showing up on this screen. There it comes, and I say okie dokie to that and go to the home page and get to the right screen. Oop. There we are. Okay, now we are looking at the iPad, and I'm going to start with the Google Calendar. So here we've got our Google Calendar, and notice I am on the testing email. And if you look here, that test appointment showed up. I entered the test appointment on the Chrome on the cloud version, and it showed up on the phone version. So now I'm going to go to the phone. I'm going to go to the iPad here, or the phone version, and I'm going to add an appointment right here at 4 o'clock on the 19th. So let's watch as I enter it into the iPad. I choose event, and it gives me my entry here. And this, we're entering an appointment on the iPad. And notice down here it says events, and it's got Nicole's email. Well, that's not the calendar I want, so I need to tap that and choose the testing one. So now that email says testing. Here I can choose my default color. I'm going to choose the day. I have to tap on that because I actually want it on the 19th at 4. And then I'll hit save. And notice it's test from iPad and test from iPad when I go into the actual Chrome. So that is the Gmail one. And now we're going to do the same thing with the Outlook one. And I'm here on the cloud in the Chrome account for Outlook. And I'm going to go into my iPad here. And this time I'm going to look at the Outlook app. And this we didn't see before because I got disconnected from my remote screen. But we're logging into Outlook. I say no thanks to that. And I notice up here, this little smiley face is the account that my Outlook is associated with. And so I want to actually connect it to this testing Outlook. And so I'm going to add a new account. I'll add a new email account. And so we're going to do, I believe this email account is actually testingluxcentric@outlook.com. And I'll enter, need to click the add account, and then it will go looking for the account, and it will either know my password or I will need to enter it. Enter my password here, and then tap the sign and tap the sign in. Oh, I typed it wrong. Welcome to the wonderful world of passwords. And there, it liked that one much better. So now we are connected to that. So once I'm connected to that account, then I can go ahead and look at the calendar. And notice down here at the bottom, we've got this little envelope here for our email, and then we have the calendar over here. So I'm going to tap on the calendar, and now this shows me that same calendar. This calendar matches the calendar that I have here on the Outlook Chrome. The other nice thing about these individual apps, so I'm using the Outlook app and I'm using the Outlook website. These, my colors, my fun calendar colors will match. See here, we've got the marketing focus in this blue color and the marketing focus in this blue color. My new appointment, I'm going to create a new appointment from the iPad here. And then I'll type in the name of it. Here we're going to do it from 4 to 5 on Thursday. Let's go ahead and do that on Friday instead. I choose Friday, and now it pops it in there. See the 19th, and then I hit the little check marky up here to lock it in, and then double lock it in. And notice here we've got that new appointment shows up. And then when I go to the cloud version on my computer, it may take a little bit of time for it to show up. And if I get a little bit impatient, I can always go up to this little swirly guy and refresh my screen. And it will eventually show up. Oh, looks like my iPad is thinking. See this little swirly guy here? That means that my Outlook is trying very, very hard to tell the server that I added this new appointment. Good old Outlook. Because whenever you're syncing information, whether you're syncing your email or you're syncing your calendar entry, it's got to come from one device to the servers in the cloud to your other device. So if my internet is is wonky in any of these places. Like as if this continues to spin, this app continues to spin, as long as it's still thinking, this new appointment isn't going to get out of, for lack of a better term, out of my iPad through my internet and then connect here. As soon as it gets to the internet, it's probably going to connect and show up in this spot here. Now, if my computer itself, looking up in this little section where we've got I'm connected to my Wi-Fi, if my Wi-Fi is a problem, then that appointment will not get onto this screen either. And this screen may, if I refresh it, may itself not refresh, because if I can't connect to the internet, I wouldn't be able to connect to this page, which is why some people still really, really like to maintain this Outlook program, because this Outlook program, it also has to connect to the internet. So someday my iPad may decide that it wants to connect to the internet, in which case that appointment's going to appear. So I'm going to go ahead. It might just be that I am trying to ask it to do way too much. So I'm going to go ahead and kick out this one, see if I can kind of slower the bandwidth on my home internet. And it looks like I might be making my iPad work way too hard. Let's just close it and open it. It's thinking so hard, poor little iPad. Well, once that stops spinning, we can try looking at that again. Let's take a look at our next thing. And I think that actually that last test in deciding and determining that your app is successfully synchronized is really all that you need to do. Once you've got, there are some strange little things that digital stuff will do. Thank you all for joining me, and until next time, I will see you all about the internet.